All right, welcome back to the New Equity Network Show. I'm Michael Yorba, your host, broadcasting to you live on the 1160 AM KBCE, DFW's Business Authority. And my guest this segment, Jack Honor, founder, principal, shareholder, screenwriter, and producer of StereoVision Entertainment, StereoVision.com, and symbol SVSN. All right, Jack, when we left off, I wanted to get into how does the industry work on this side, and then I was looking at the slate of films, and I left out something that's really near and dear to the hearts of people here in Texas. You've got a movie that you're going to do with Willie Nelson here in Texas. Tell us about that one before we get into the industry mechanics.
Well, that's the story of Secrets of the Lost San Sabas. And what that is about is the lost gold and silver mines down in San Saba. And Willie plays an Indian guide to the afterlife on a 300-year quest for justice. Actually, it's a story based on historical events. The Spanish conquistadors had stopped there in San Saba and were mining the gold and silver, and they had enslaved the Conchas and Apache Indians. Well, the Apaches and the Conchas rose up and wiped out the Spanish conquistadors, actually ending the Spanish colonization of Texas right there.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we fictionalize the story and talk about the missionaries hiding the gold and silver, and we bring it up to modern day and a crooked federale who finds the treasure map in a being renovated church in Mexico City, and it turns into a battle for the treasure of the secrets of the lost San Sabas.
Wow.
We're very excited about this film. All of the exteriors are going to be shot at a little town called Luck, Texas. It's on Willie Nelson's ranch there just outside of Marble Falls.
Any idea when you might be able to get that one up and running? I'd like to get in. I'll grow a big mustache for it.
Well, we're working on it. That's one of the reasons we're on your show here. We're generating the financing. Again, we have half the financing in place for our films, and we're working with Uptick Newswire and companies like yours to generate the other half of the funding. And believe me, yesterday wasn't soon enough for me to get started.
Yeah, I'll bet. All right, that takes us into the business model here. You've got a publicly traded company. You're using the modern vehicles, the new Reg A Plus that's going to happen in a few days. Are you also working on crowdfunding, or just walk us through what a publicly traded company has to go through to obtain the capital to produce the product, your media in 3D like you're doing, and then deliver value to the shareholders. Give us that insight.
Well, what we're doing is each intellectual property, each film project has its own standalone LLC, single purpose with a single purpose bank account.
Right.
This allows us to generate the financing using the solicitation of accredited investors as now allowed by the Jobs Act, and it's non-dilutional to the public company shareholders. And then we split the profits with the investors in the LLCs.
Okay. All right, so you just keep producing films. They build an overall value to the holding company, if I'm using the terms properly, which is the publicly traded entity, and then people would be able to derive alpha plus. Actually, what else do they get? I mean, they get appreciation of stock. How does this
Sure,
work?
appreciation in the stock, but what we do is we sell half of the film property.
Uh-huh.
For the financing. So, and the public company retains half of the property. So whatever funds come in, for instance, with the movie we're doing with the Baywatch guy, whatever funds come in for product integration or foreign distribution, that money is split between the investors in the LLC and the shareholders of StereoVision. So the shareholders of StereoVision are getting earnings and net profits without having to use the equity in the public company, so it's non-dilutional to the public company.
How does this differ from the traditional way of financing companies or financing films using whatever Paramount or MGM, the other studios, Sony, what have you?
Well, the studios they come in, and if a studio is going to produce and release your movie, they come in and acquire it from you. So you'll get an acquisition fee, some nominal amount, and you're promised a back-end participation. But it's well known historically the studios rarely pay any back-end participation, even when the movie does well. An example is our agent, Mark Lichtman. His writer, Frank Miller, made the movie Batman Dark Knight Returns in '96, and Frank Miller was to get a piece of the profit. Now, the movie made over $1 billion, and here it is 20 years later, and the studio still have not paid Frank Miller any of profits.
Why?
Because they say there aren't any.
Oh.
What they do is they use the money up in marketing and advertising, and it never works its way back to the people in profit participation. What we're doing is independently keeping control of the intellectual property so that the money goes directly to the shareholders and not through a studio.
So $1 billion revenue gross. It didn't cost them $1 billion to make and distribute that movie.
No.
What do you think the spread was there?
I don't quite understand what you mean by the spread.
How much it cost to make the movie and distribute the movie?
Well, it would just be a guess, but I'd say, generally a movie like that costs upwards of $100 million, and it may cost, generally, if a movie has a $100 million budget, the studios will put $100 million in marketing on it. So, there's a lot of room for confusion there.
That's at least $600 to $800 million that's out there between the cost of getting it made and out and the revenue streams coming back.
Right. Well, the studios just have a way of not paying you, and they're not keen on independent filmmakers. They see you as competition, so they're trying to do whatever they can to put you out of business.
Well, yeah, it's the story of the David Goliath story. But now that you've got rules from the securities or FINRA, SEC or FINRA, working in your favor, it seems to me that you could just keep coming up with new content and going back to market with new content, provided everybody likes what you produce, and turn this into just a huge bonanza for both you and your shareholders.
Well, the 5 projects we talked about are the ones that are teed up and ready to go. We have a book with another 10 projects all ready to go with screenplays and people and talent, and and what we're also going to be doing in conjunction with Uptick Newswire is, while we are developing our own proprietary database of investors for our projects, we'll also be promoting other people's projects as well for a piece of the action.
Okay. All right. So they would come in under your umbrella, give you a bigger portfolio of entertainment products that just does nothing but enhance the shareholder value of your company, is what I'm getting.
Right. And one of the things that you find when you're out looking for money, most times people that want to raise money for you, the first thing they do is ask you for money.
Right.
Well, when our board of advisors decides whatever projects that we're going to promote are brought on board, we're not charging anything up front. And if we don't get you your money, it doesn't cost you anything.
Right. So in essence, in order for all of this to work, aside from having good product, it all starts with, do you have good content that's going to be appealable, or, meaning it's going to satiate the need that people have for good viewing, whether it's a story about Willie Nelson or San Saba or anything else. You've got to have a marketing team in place that's going to have to compete with all of the majors in order to get this message out. So you have to you have to redo with new technology what the studios have been doing for 100 years, right?
Well, it's an entirely new system, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got an incredible team of Academy Award-winning talent that's in the production side and in the sales side. So what we'll be doing is launching a new system for independent filmmakers to get their products made without having to contend with the studio. So
once you're a success with this product, where you get the message out, you get the funding in place from the general public with these new rules, then I would imagine it would create kind of a vacuum for people who have been getting. What was that movie that Angelina Jolie, picked up and
Unbroken?
Right.
Just did recently. Yeah, that deal was the writer signed a development deal with MGM in 1958.
58. And then it wasn't until
took him all this time to get his movie made.
So all of these people that have had good content, good products on the shelf that they've just put them in the back and gathering dust, can now come out and bring those to you for review, so that there would be additions to your portfolio. You can get them out to the market faster, is what I'm hearing.
Right, and the people that we have on the advisory board that will be selecting the products for us to promote are people that have very substantial and lengthy success records in making hit movies.
And the guys that are bringing it up get paid.
Yeah, everybody gets, and the thing is, they get paid right away. If you have a deal with a studio where they acquire your film and they distribute it, they tell you right up front that you're not going to get paid anything, even if you have a big weekend. You're not going to get paid anything for at least 18 months.
You've got a paradigm shift on this, because you can pre-sell the advertising for the film for product placing. Oh, you know what? I've just been told we got about a minute left, so we got to go. But
yeah, well, you have to pre-sell the product integration, because the sponsors have to pay up front to get their products in the movies.
Got it. All right, contact information for you, Jack. We got to go, but I really enjoyed the conversation with you and learning more about this business sector.
Yeah, Jack at StereoVision.com. I can be reached there, and our stock trading symbol is SVSM, Sam Victor, Sam Nancy.
Great. Jack, thanks for coming on the show. We'll talk to you real soon.
Happy to do it. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. Jack Honor, founder, principal, shareholder, screenwriter, and producer, StereoVision.com. SVSN is the symbol. And we're going to be right back on the other side of this break with Barry Lampert, CEO, Lampert Less Lethal. We'll talk to you soon.